Hello and welcome to the What They Said podcast powered by PrettyGreen. We're really excited to be here. This podcast is dedicated to all things influencer marketing. We're going to chat creator economy, what makes influencers tick, what goes on behind the scenes, a branded partnership and how to navigate them, and a whole other host of different topics. I'm really excited by the lineup of guests that we've got. They are industry titans that are far more talented than I. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. My name's Sammy Alban. I'm the influencer strategy lead at PrettyGreen, and I have 8.5 years experience of being a full-time content creator myself. So hopefully I can bring that experience to this, share some of my personal experience with you, chat to our wonderful guests about their experiences, and really shed a light on the conversations that aren't often had and often omit influencers altogether. Welcome to this week's episode, where we are joined by the wonderful Jessica Joseph, founder of Season 25 and head of talent. I've got a bio here for you, Jess, but I thought I'd read that out and then you can blush and then we can go into it.
Okay, I'll let you do the intro
all right.
then.
Correct me if anything's wrong.
I will.
So Jess started her career in management in 2016, gaining your experience as a talent manager at the first digital talent management company, Gleam Futures, before moving to influencer marketing platform Whaler to help build out their global talent arm, Whaler Stars. Since starting your venture, you've been consistently passionate about leveling the playing field and ensuring that the creator economy creates equal opportunities for all talent. And off the back of this, you founded Season 25 just over 4 years ago as a response to the direct lack of diverse faces and voices across the UK entertainment sphere. You showcase change makers within the Black community, and as a team, you're inherently understanding of how to impactfully tell the stories of the talent you represent. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you. Thanks, Sammy. That was a great intro.
Did I get it all right?
You ticked it all off.
Good,
Thank
good.
you. You might as well write them for me.
I've got spare time. I can do some bios. But no, I'm really thrilled to have you on the podcast. And I've been following Season 25 for a while, and you do some really great stuff for the space. So I'd love to hear a little bit about Season 25, a little bit about you and your mission
for sure.
at the agency.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and we've loved working with you, so I'm excited to be at episode 1 as well.
Episode 1.
What an honour. So give a little bit of background about myself. So it kind of is fitting that I'm on this podcast that is the whole world of influencer marketing. The reason that I got into this industry is because I was initially obsessed with YouTube. You know, I was one of those people that I must have been about 14. I came across a video of Zoella. I can't remember what she was doing at the time, but that was
probably
like
a messy bun.
Probably, it was a hair tutorial.
Was it?
It was some kind of hair tutorial, probably not for my hair. But so it was that like real key moment of this is the kind of YouTube OG fame. Went to uni, obviously, studied fashion communication, and a lot of that was kind of digital marketing and what was going to be the future of marketing. And yeah, when I left uni, I knew a lot about Gleam. I've been following the kind of journey of all these, OG YouTubers. Yep. When I realised I had management, I thought, what do they need a manager for?
That we weren't aware of. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was dead set. I was like, this is it. I want to work at that company. And I did. I kind of went there as a talent coordinator, working on emerging creators within the business. And I had the best experience there. Learned so much from the founder, from the talent managers, from the talent that I looked after on the roster. But I think very much knowing that, also coming from Bradford, very kind of working class city, very cultural melting pot, and also obviously being mixed race, coming down to London and working in that industry for the first time, seeing the disparity, and it was very white and middle class at that time. Not just at Gleam, everywhere. Yeah. And obviously Gleam was the first of its kind, digital talent management company, but more agencies were cropping up, within months and months. And across the industry, it felt like that was replicated. So knowing that from the beginning, it's something that I've always felt passionate about, even when I was, junior and probably not within the rights to be suggesting new talent for the roster.
Had big ideas.
Yeah, exactly. But knowing that's what I really wanted to push for. So fast forward, went to Whaler, helped set up Whaler Stars. We signed the very exciting Melissa's Wardrobe at that time. She was one of the first creators that I worked with there. The Cabs family, who we still look after 6 years later. Dr. Adana Steinacker, who is an amazing medical doctor, women's health empowerment, female empowerment. So really started to, I guess, think about having a much more diverse roster of creators. And obviously the world of influencer marketing had grown. It wasn't just YouTube, it wasn't long form content, it was Instagram, it was now hosting events, it was building podcasts. And being aware that obviously within the Black community there are so many different narratives, and it's non-monolithic. There are so many voices out there, and that's regional. It's different age groups. It's families. So yeah, that's been the mission of season 25, is to continue growing that and making sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to see the success of this crazy influencer world.
I think there's so much you've covered there, and I feel like you've just given a whistle-stop sort of history of influence marketing in the UK. Because essentially, I mean, the time you're referring to, like the OG YouTubers, and for those that aren't aware, that is your sort of Zoellas, like you mentioned, and really at the forerunners of, I mean, in America you've had Tyler Oakley and people like that. It's
I used
really
to watch a
taking me
girl
back.
actually called Blair, Juicy Star 07. That was like the first person that I think I subscribed to, and she lived this whole different kind of world to me. And it was it's that like escapism of being like, wow, there's such different people out there that we have no idea about, and YouTube really allowed us to see.
And they're
that.
sharing their lives online.
Yeah,
this is tangential, but I think you might relate. I think the first creator I followed was Daily Grace.
Yep.
Grace Helbig.
Of course.
And I was,
Gosh, from the past.
I loved her content. And little me sitting in my home in Essex watching this girl in New York share the fact that she's a comedian and she's doing all this stuff. But you have just shared this history of like OG YouTube. It wasn't a melting pot. It was very much dominated by white creators. I think I followed community channel, Natalie Tran. She's an Australian-based Asian creator. Yeah. And then Glozell.
Yeah,
was one of the first Black creators to really make it big. But there was a real disparity, and you've touched on it rightly so, that there were a lot more opportunities for white creators.
Absolutely.
Even so much so, and you're probably aware of this, YouTube Black is YouTube's program to encourage Black creators to create on platform. Most YouTube space events had a requirement of 100,000 subscribers. You had to upload 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah. All these criteria. They had to really drop that because Black creators weren't getting the same opportunities. Chances are they weren't full-time creators as well, because they didn't have the income that matched their white counterparts. And this is not to say white creators, it was their fault, but there was a long way to go to make sure it was fair. So for even platforms to recognise that the opportunities weren't there. Which
YouTube have done amazingly. I think we
can
touch on that at some point, but we've worked with the YouTube Black team across most of the cohorts from launching in the UK in 2020. I think it's been going in the US a little bit longer. But we actually were in Nairobi last year for the graduation of the YouTube 2023 cohort. Yeah. So I did a workshop about brand partnerships for talent, but seeing all of the creators, the globe, like from across the globe, come together in one place, and YouTube not only financially supporting them, but offering a strategic partner manager, offering, a growth plan, somebody to lean on, and an event space where they, creators can meet people that they would never have had the chance to collaborate.
Network.
There was a studio there for people to create content the whole week. And I haven't seen that commitment to the black creators from any other platform as of yet.
No.
I'm hoping that we will continue to grow in the right spaces. But I would say that the YouTube Black program manager, who's amazing, Abby, has really set her mark and continues to do amazing things for all of our roster. Anyway.
Yeah, I think. Not just YouTube, but YouTube in general have always been so nurturing of talent.
Absolutely.
Versus other platforms like the TikTok Creator Fund is 100 million. YouTube's paid 40 billion to media and influencers over the past 4 years alone. Yeah. So it just shows you the platform.
And you see that if you ever see the YouTube MD speak, their whole ethos is we need creators on the platform.
And we pay them well.
So definitely completely agree.
I mean, we've kind of covered my first question. I think since you started season 25 and even joined the industry, I think in 2016, you said?
Yeah.
A lot has changed. And I feel like we still got a way to go. But generally, I think the landscape is in a better place now. It's certainly more mature than it was when you first started. But let's be real. Not all brand partnerships with influencers are created equally. And I know, as you probably do, a lot of talent agents, a lot of agencies have horror stories of where it's gone wrong. Or not even when they're committed to a brand deal, but when the most ludicrous deal has come through and you think, how have you thought
many times.
Yeah. How have you thought that this was the right partnership for my talent? Do you have any horror stories?
I've got, do you know what?
We can bleep out names.
These are two kind of let me run them because they're quite funny to just think about. Recently, we got a email in about an IPL hair removal product.
Okay.
So looked at the product. The first thing that was on the main page of the website was not suitable for X tone of skin. So I think, you know, it had the chart from like your porcelain white skin to me, and this was like the final.
And that was as far as we would.
And I thought this, you know, for one of the creators on the roster who is a dark skin black female, and you know, I had to take a screenshot and say, this is a super easy task for you, so just kind of have a look at who the email's going out to. So obviously apologetic. It didn't even get down the line to negotiation. But there's been so many occasions in which we've had, you know, emails about hair brands, product, new launches, come to try this out in the salon, and me just quickly, is this suitable for Afro hair? Yeah. Is this suitable for 4C hair? Really sorry, no, it's not. And I think that kind of thing is ignorance, you know. Doing talent, I understand that now doing kind of like talent outreach and research, the industry's grown to such a level. There's thousands of creators, but that is just the tiny one step to make sure that you're catering to the right audiences.
It's just courtesy as well.
It's courtesy, yeah.
I think we've worked with quite a few hair brands where it stops at 3C.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of due diligence that needs to be done on PrettyGreen side.
That's also the hair care industry, but there are so many products now for black textured, curly, kinky, coily hair that, you know, every brand doesn't need to be suitable to every kind of hair type, but at least work out who your email, if the person that you're emailing is going to be right for that product. More, I guess, general horror stories, where to begin.
Choose your favourite.
Choose my favourite. I'm going to choose the most recent.
I think we were talking about this
because it's in my head. So we've had actually a bit of a situation with. We'll go through this, but obviously, as management, as an agent, we are there to protect talent. So we're there to understand the industry more than they do, so they can get on with their job, creating amazing content, working with their favourite brand partners.
Respect their best interests, make sure that we're progressing the right way.
Yeah, and also, you know, when it's not going well, what can we do to make sure there's still growth and all those kind of things. But we are there as a middleman to some extent, taking away lots of the admin, the heavy lifting, the negotiation, the contract. And we've worked with an agency a fair amount of times. Again, they are the middleman between them and the brand. However, we also have worked with said brand on numerous occasions, and not just in terms of kind of social partnerships, really big moments for this specific talent. So we're going through
independently with this brand, but then also through an influencer marketing agency?
Influencer marketing agency. So we've worked with this brand who have many different verticals. So we've worked with their PR team. We've worked on paid social. We've seen them at events. So it's a really important relationship to us. But cool, we'll work through the agency. What happened was there is a massive kind of miscommunication between the influencer marketing agency, the brand, and us. You know, the creative was signed off. Our creators went to film this content. They have children. They've got young children.
So they're bringing them along.
They're giving up the weekend to shoot with an idea that's been signed off. And actually, it turns out this idea wasn't signed off by the brand. The agency had given us written confirmation. They'd given us the green light to shoot the content. So when we're getting further down the line now, we're speaking about reshoots. We're speaking about doesn't follow the brief. We didn't sign this off. And we've had to get to a level where it's like, okay, we're now myself and the director of this agency on a call and me having to bring up the receipts. This is what the account exec said.
We all have a paper chain.
We all have a paper chain. Yeah. And in that moment, they accepted responsibility, like we've completely messed this up. You know, we shouldn't have signed this off. The client hadn't seen the creative treatment. And
but
then
throughout that puts there's a risk that the brand would then obviously never want to work with potentially you again.
Well, this is
potentially the talent, even though they've done
actually happened, and that's a really unfortunate situation in which, had there been better communication between all parties on that side, we could have avoided any of this happening or found a solution. But I think, you know, they've kind of tried to manage that brand relationship internally without kind of telling us the real situation. And now this brand thinks that actually we've been difficult to work with, the talent have been difficult to work with, they've not taken instruction well. But from our perspective, we've ticked everything off like perfectly. And I think
for me that is, sorry to cut you off, but I think that is a key thing that is wrong here, because I think it is the agency's role in this situation to do that balancing act, not your role as in the influencer marketing agency.
Yeah.
I think it'd be useful for listeners or viewers that aren't aware just to talk through the process of how a typical brand deal would go. So PrettyGreen would shortlist influencers, including season 25 talent. We'd then reach out to you and say, look, this is the job at hand. This is what we'd like you to do. Here's the brief. Then you take it to your talent.
Yep.
Have a back and forth about, is this something you want to do?
Yep.
We chat fee.
Which I think that's a really important part to discuss as well, is making sure that like it's the right brand fit, and these guys do this very well. We've never had any issues working with anyone from your agency. I think that sometimes we've got the only time we've had issues is where there's like maybe not that relationship between the agency, agent and talent. And I think this kind of thing, working together, making sure that it's FaceTime with, the agency that you're working with, making sure even the client, the influencers know who they're speaking to, and building really good relationships means that we can avoid
of the campaign is as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think often that, I'm sure you can attest to this, it's often not conveyed to you.
Yeah,
this is an awareness campaign.
True. That is true.
Or we want to drive sales. There would never be, from our side anyway, there would never be, we expect you to achieve X. There's only so much that an influencer and yourself can control, and there's the algorithms take into mind.
Absolutely.
But I think for me, and therapizing this situation for you, it feels as though in this instance, influencer marketing agency was far more likely to be safeguarding their relationship with the client over ensuring that there's a fair experience for all parties involved.
That's exactly how it feels / felt. And I think that takes me on to like a couple of other horror stories. I appreciate actually we didn't go through the rest of that brand campaign. So we go through the brief.
Yeah, go through the brief.
We send over fees, we agree the fees, and then usually what would happen is we would send over a rough idea of this is what we feel what's best for the influencer's channel in terms of content. May even do a write-up, the video starts X, Y, and Z. Then we would expect the brand or the agency on behalf of the brand to sign that off so that we can avoid reshooting the content. Exactly. And then obviously we go through our approval stages. Cool, there might be small minimal amends, and then the content goes live. And obviously we manage making sure that goes live on time and making sure we send insights to yourself afterwards. So that's the kind of general process of the brand partnership.
For anyone listening as well, reshoots, and I cannot stress this enough, should be the absolute last thing that happens. You should prioritize every other solution before it gets to a reshoot, partly because the influencers are busy. This is not the only branded partnership they're doing, and your branded partnership, sorry to say brands, is probably the lowest on the priority list for them, ensuring that their content and their usual style and theme and feed is protected. And you have to remember that your branded partnership is just a moment in their narrative. So how do you make sure that you're working with them really effectively? You collaborate and you make this a very collaborative experience. Yeah. Being too prescriptive
Absolutely.
Also doesn't do anyone any favours.
I think that was the other part of horror stories is this comes in, it's like this version of events that happens in many different ways is, okay, we've actually working with the brand direct or even agency, we've gotten to the point of sharing the content. And again, it's all in line with it's the creative treatment. We've followed the description to a T. And they just don't like it. It's not branded enough. So they come with suggestions, and we're trying to make sure that the content performs as you want it to perform. So if we're going to add more brand moments in, if we're going to cut the whole intro to the video, which is that nice natural family moment, and go straight to 3 seconds of the brand name, it's not
brand and product.
We've got your best interests at heart here too. We want the content to perform well. So I think it's where there's that lack of understanding that you are also you're utilizing the channel for the influencers audience. Like we understand their audience, we know what they like, what they don't like when they switch off in terms of audience viewer stats. So I think that can be difficult, but I think
it's an education piece, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure particularly from your side as well, and we'll get on to equal opportunities for black creators too, but a lot of your role is education.
Absolutely.
So you're educating brands, you're helping educate influencers that perhaps aren't business savvy.
Yeah.
So they've sort of stumbled into being influencers.
Yeah, definitely.
I think all the best one has.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, my next question was kind of tying into all what we've said, and there's some real meaty ones that I'd love to get into with you.
Great.
But we know that black creators have traditionally undervalued themselves. I think that's fair to say. But at PrettyGreen, we call it our A is for all framework. It's our D&I framework. Make sure we challenge unconscious bias, whether that's at briefing. And I haven't written it thinking, this is a parent, so it's for a mum, and it's for a white mum.
Okay.
So we have different members of the team check our briefs, and even what we pitch to clients as well, making sure that we're upholding our D&I commitments. But as part of that A is for all framework is ensuring that the campaigns are inclusive, but also fair pay. Yeah. Making sure that there's been so many instances where black creators have charged a fraction, the same level as perhaps like a white
And do you see that from your perspective?
Definitely. And we see that, and we've said, actually, this is the rate that we are going to pay you. We'll up their fee and say, based on what we're paying X creator.
I've never heard that from an agency.
Oh, really?
Before. No. So
I've heard other agencies say it. I don't know if
maybe I've just not had the discussion with them, or we've
should
not ever
happen more.
come across, like we maybe haven't had to battle for fees with them. So, yeah, that's really interesting.
I think also when it comes to black talent, they will already have a fee that is lower than what their white counterparts are. Because in the first instance, we'll always try and meet the rate. But there's been so many instances where someone's charged a couple £100 for quite a few deliverables, where someone else has charged a couple of grand.
And I think the reason why I knew when launching season 25 that I felt I had the expertise, knowledge, and ability to try and level the playing field is because I did have experience at Gleam, because I did work at Whaler. Like I had a really deep understanding of what rate cards were across such a variety of different creators, especially like top tier white creators who I might see have the exact same engagement rate as one of the biggest black YouTubers that we work with. So I can say confidently I back myself on these fees. So if you're
know
going
your
to try,
value,
exactly,
100%.
and that's how we've continued to build the business. And I think having that experience firsthand in the beginning made complete sense to then continue to where we are now at season 25.
Definitely. I think kind of my question was off the back of that. Do you feel right now in the UK that there is fair pay for black creators?
Had you asked me right after the resurgence of the BLM movement, so if we're speaking December 2020, I would say we're in the peak moment of not just fair pay, but fair opportunity. We were in a position where we were inundated with inbound, like amazing brand partnership opportunities, and we weren't having to fight tooth and nail for what I know was a fair fee for such campaign.
Were these brands that you'd worked with before, or what had never worked?
I would say
black talent.
I would say 60% new brand partners, 40% we'd worked with previously. There were some people already doing a great job, some agencies already doing a great job. We've worked with P&G for years and years through their influence marketing team, and we've never had to. It's just been positive from the offset. They get it, they understand what inherently what it means to have diverse partnerships. We've never, it's a great example of someone that we've never had to kind of educate. But yeah, 60% I would say from June 2020 to December 2020. Obviously, I'd set up a new business, so I wasn't under the name of Whaler or Gleam. So yeah, maybe we'd worked with that partner a year ago at a different agency. But yeah, I would say from 2020 to now, fees generally have increased. I would say we're in a better position, and also you've got to think of the fact that our creators, have maybe grown in size. We've managed to keep great engagement rates. We've increased their production value, and also inflation.
Yeah.
So we've had to keep increasing fees to make sure that they're fair with industry standard. But also we're seeing a bit less pushback in terms of working with brands who, it will agree said fees. What I will say has been noticeable is the I would say trajectory and decline of the amount of work that we've done over maybe the past 12 months. So we were 2020, it was like this huge spike. And then 2021, great, we maintained that level. 2022, starting to dip a little bit. And then 2023, last year was a really quiet year.
Really?
Yeah, and I would say noticeably quieter and across the board. And I don't know whether you would say that working...
I think I'd be interested to hear the rest of your point. I think there was a lot of the cost of living involved in that.
Agreed.
And brands dialing back what they're spending on. I mean, generally, the spend on influencers was going up, but I think a lot of brands that were already activated on influencers were like, actually, budgets are being scrutinised, let's take a step back. Yeah. But I wonder if it impacted yourself and black creators more.
And I also wonder, the one thing that I can say that has been a positive is that absolutely, and across every single client we work with, we've increased average deal price. Right. So even though we might be doing less campaigns, we're doing the quality and the value of them has increased. So it's been a good thing, and it means that actually what I know for myself, and definitely for the creators who were here from the offset of season 25, the sad reality is we didn't know when this might end. Yeah. So I think we worked to the point of burnout. It was really intense for a good year or so. So it's allowed to maintain earnings for the past year, but take a little step back in terms of workload.
I really want to talk about burnout, because I think this is something that brands, when influencers work full time and they're putting their persona online. And this is something I struggled with, and one of the reasons I stopped creating was because the person I created online and persona I crafted was really at odds with.
It's not you.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't who I was off camera. And I think burnout is a thing that certainly a lot of my friends that are creators still struggle with on the weekly basis.
Yeah.
And I think
it never ends. There's
it
not
never ends.
you know.
And and I think an interesting point for you as well is when brands give feedback on content but forget to say they liked it.
Sometimes
you
for
like the
me, I
content?
want to actually respond and be like,
So what
did
did you think?
actually?
Yeah.
I might send something and I'm like, oh my God, I'm blown away. This is amazing. We've just signed a new creator, Pele Newell. If you haven't followed him, go and have a look at him now.
Follow and look.
He is a motion graphic designer.
Wow.
And to the point of like receiving content yesterday, I could have jumped off my chair. I was like, this is so exciting. It's the first partnership we've done together.
Please tell me the brand also.
And the brand replied with something like, they didn't even say
brand not
great.
mentioned at 031 and you're like,
yeah, and to me it could be on television. So we were like, even internally on Slack, I've seen this, it's so great. And I think that can be really disheartening. I sometimes want to add in when I'm sending talent
back to
feedback.
talent, yeah.
You've done an amazing job.
Yeah. The client said
Just
this is
one
the most
little,
amazing thing they've ever seen.
Yeah, because I think we've been maybe desensitized to the fact of what we're doing is some of these edits take people like 12 hours, 24 hours. And they've poured their heart and soul into trying to make this into something that they're really proud of, that you really like, they want to work with you again. And yeah, as you say, like that can be a little bit disheartening.
Because I guess when they get a wall of feedback and it's just brand not mentioned here,
bam,
logo seen at X, and it's like,
and
what did you think
sometimes
of the
it's
content?
like the middle point of just adding a bit of like personality, like we don't feel this is necessary, remove.
Yeah. Can we water this down so it's just brand mentions, please?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're missing the point.
Yeah, so just this week we've had a similar thing to that, where we thought this interview process was going to be a bit about having fun on the red carpet, a little bit of the brand mention here,
Right.
and we got the final edit and we were like, where's half of the
My influencer's
content?
not in it, it's just the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely lots of moments like that. But kind of in relation to the burnout conversation, I think a lot of it is, as you say, so now with creators who are personality driven, so lots of personality driven content, this person is expected to be entertaining at all times, and not have a day off, and be consistently like improving on their content, be consistently engaging with followers, and obviously creating brand content. And I think there is a lot of like outside perspective that this is an easy job.
Yes.
And
most kids leaving school want to be a content creator.
I've heard that.
It's 70% of
70% of kids would love to be a YouTuber.
Don't quote that. It might be
might not be,
higher than that, or it might be a lot less. But
and I think having, obviously, you've worked in this industry for the same amount of time as I have, knowing now the input of effort versus what might have been 8 years ago. I'm not saying that nobody worked hard, but there was less people doing this as a full-time job. You had more opportunity.
More to go around because of less people. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
So it's a hard slog, I would say. And you're always having to kind of up-level on your skill set. And I think lots of creators, they might do this full-time, and maybe it seems like they're earning a good living for themselves, which they are, but remembering that they're investing that into equipment, potentially an editor,
overheads,
working with managers. Lots of it is reinvesting that back into the business to make sure that they can stay at their A game, so they can continue this as a full-time job.
Yeah, definitely. I think to make burnout easier, if brand managers or anyone that is working with influencers listening, please just give some nice feedback. If you like the content, say you like it, or just appreciate the hours that went into making it.
Yeah.
Even if you're working with 50 influencers, just remember there's a human.
I think from all sides of this process, my key takeaway would be just be nice. We're not surgeons. Nice. It doesn't have to be super serious. Like, build great relationships and treat each other with respect,
I think what blows me away, and you've been to we did a panel last year together, and I think we always go to these events, and I think people forget that this entire industry, the fact that we have a job, is literally built on the shoulders of inherently creative people that perhaps aren't business savvy.
Yeah.
They didn't go to business school.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they're a mum and they've started a side channel and they're suddenly a successful comedian on their Instagram. I think people forget that, and influencers are really omitted from this. So remember that when you are giving feedback or when we're working with influencers, this is a human industry.
Exactly.
I know we all love AI and we're all trying to automate everything we do these days. But ultimately, and this is why I don't like platforms that are like you sign up to as an influencer.
That's it.
Because it removes that human
every
element.
part of even consuming content is about human connection.
Exactly.
The reason you subscribe to someone's content is because you like them, you want to know more about them, and as a brand, you're getting into that. So like we're all humans. Like it has to be about being nice to each other, understanding, having an element of flexibility. Like you said, you know, we're in a position where some creators are parents. You know, they might be doing this as a side hustle. Baby might have been rushed to A&E. The deadline has to be moved because it's just we're humans at the end of the day. So I think that flexibility and you know relationship building is a really key part of making this just a nice place to work for everyone.
100%. Okay, so I'd like to know, I'm sure you're approached about this all the time, when should influencers consider management? And if they're not at that stage, what advice would you give them? Black creators specifically in the UK.
I would say to consider management, you must be at a point, or not must be, but you should be at a point in which you have taken your brand, your channel, your partnerships to the highest level you think you can do by yourself. For me, it's about elevating and developing with a team rather than handing over because I don't want to do it or and definitely not a status thing. I think some people think if I have management, it will make me look more professional. But actually, you've got to think about what your current earnings are, the opportunities that you're already managing to gain by yourself. You know, your management should just be an addition of value to what you're already doing. So if you're managing,
what value you can bring,
absolutely,
together.
And I think if you're not being kind of inundated with emails and you're able to respond in a timely manner, you're able to build great relationships with brands, you've got your own ideas and
you know your value.
Yeah, you're pitching yourself. I think lean on friends in the industry and lean on, you know, maybe other managers that you know of. If you ever want to, you know, run fees by them, I'm sure they'll be there to give you a helping hand. And I would say that the right time isn't about following numbers. It's not about audience size. It's really about when you feel you've elevated your brand to the best it can be. What more can more can management bring you?
What opportunities can it unlock, and how can it sort of take you? And so I suppose strategically, you spoke about building podcasts, and I know with a lot of your talent, you're thinking more long term.
Absolutely.
So I guess it's that next level of formalising what you do and having a plan in place to think about what is the next level and how do I get there.
Exactly that. And I think we sometimes sit down with potential new clients and my question for you is, what do you see for yourself? And if you expect me to be the person to tell you this is your career path, it doesn't work in that way. And I think a lot of people think, cool, I'll sign to management and then like all my dreams will come true, or they will decide for me what's best for me. And I think it's not about that. It's about you having a really strong idea of what you want to achieve and what are your dream long-term goals, and us saying, okay, this is how we use our network, your hard work, our hard work to get there together. So I would say if you're in a position where you feel confident managing your own partnerships and you feel confident with the fees that you're charging, the ideas that you're pitching to brands, then continue doing that until you're at a point where you think, this is it, I've really done all I can do by myself and now I need additional support.
In that vein then, so say someone hasn't listened to your advice and they're still like, I need to get an agent.
Yeah. We
both know there's a lot of cowboy agents out there.
Oh my gosh.
How do you spot a bad opportunity, whether it's a brand deal or whether it's an agent that is pursuing you? Should they consider being on one of these massive lists where there's non-exclusivity? So that some agents have like 50 names on there, but only 2 of them are like exclusively signed to them.
Yeah.
What are like the common tropes they should be aware of?
Yeah, I was going to say that's like...
It's quite a big question.
Yeah, it is a big question. I would say that the first thing to be aware of, let's go agent management conversation first, is every creator is very different, as is every management company. For me, if I were a creator, what I want to look at is, do your values as a business align with my personal values and that of the brand? So... are you really focused on business growth and revenue? Because you can probably go to one of the big conglomerate agencies whose focus is making money and having a big profile, and probably there's going to be less nurture in that position and more like, this is how we're going to get there. Do you like that small family feel? Like, do you want to be supported? Outside of just revenue, are you interested in, it's more about relationship, and you want someone who you feel like you can trust, who you can stay with for 5 years. And I think it's about having your values aligned with that team. And the thing that you said about the non-exclusive roster of hundreds of people, you know, have a look at websites, have a look at the size of the roster, have a look at how many people work at that business, and see what you feel.
And what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so what is the result of that work? There might be some one person powerhouses who can really successfully manage 10 creators and do a good job. And there might be these huge businesses with loads of staff who actually don't feel like they're getting any results. So it's all about research. And the best thing to do is, if you've got an idea about a management company, about an agency, I would say go and have a chat to someone on their roster, because that's the
another talent and get a coffee.
Yeah,
and see.
They're going to give you the most honest feedback.
Yeah, fair. That's a very good point, because I think certainly when I started in about 2013, there were a lot of around Gleam. There was agencies that were formed that I signed up to that I guess kind of ultimately then took advantage of the talent they had, passing brand deals that came in from one person to go to someone else.
And I think unless you've got, that's it. There's got to be a really transparent relationship between manager and creator, and for you to be able to back yourself to, you know, address those points as they come up. And if it feels wrong, if sometimes it's a gut feeling, if this feels wrong, then maybe it's not for me. Yeah, exactly.
I had one question that I kind of omitted, and I guess before I get onto my quick fire ones that I want to go through with you, we touched on that 2020 moment of like awakening and people realizing that there is a lot more work to do. Did you think it was an authentic shift, and has it felt authentic since?
I will say maybe naive me at the beginning of 2020 thought this is it, like the change is happening. I would say over time the inauthentic partnerships have reared their heads. You know, I can see now that lots of that was based on performance, like it was performative. And, you know, you only have to look at some of the brand trips that were called out last year. I can say it because everyone was speaking about it, you know, Mango, they took 30 white female influencers on a brand trip. And, it, you know, actually, sorry, I think they had one creator who I love, Indian creator. But apart from that, there was nobody. There was nobody who was maybe bigger than a size 12. There were no black faces. And you've got to think about these things and understand that we were in a position where in the moment where it was key and all eyes were on you, everybody was making the right decisions to work with as many, you know, diverse creators as possible. And slowly over time, as the conversation stopped, and we're being loud behind the scenes, you know, obviously the conversations that we have as management are always focused around making sure that people are committed in the long term. You know, we really want to work with brands on a long-term basis, but we want to remind them why they're working with the creators that they're working with, you know, on our roster. So I would say that, yeah, there has been inauthentic partnerships that we maybe thought to be something more than that. But lots of brands who have made those changes, and agencies like yourself, and stuck to them. You know, you've just spoken through your the process that you have, and I think that's great to hear. And hopefully other people listen to this who maybe don't have those initiatives yet, use this as like ammo to go and get those kind of set.
Definitely. I think if I was a brand considering an agency, or if I was a brand myself, I think one of the first things that you need to consider is who are the people that we're working with that look, live or sound like our target audience.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean like you said, that experience of Mango of white creators. That means age, gender, sex, race, religion, areas of the UK they're from. And I think that's not followed through enough. Often a lot of brands or agencies talk the talk, but when it comes down to it, it's just the same old.
And I think, you know,
finite list of talent.
Use smaller agencies that have a niche and a key focus as consultants. Come and say, you know, cool, we maybe didn't work with anyone from your roster. It might not even be talent management companies. There's so many other small agencies that work in entertainment, that work in PR, that run influence and marketing campaigns. Specifically, if we're looking for creative colour, that would be 7-6 or Vamp. Ourselves. We're always there if you want to use someone as a consultant and bring them in, and bring in someone else from a completely different background and say, what are we doing wrong? How can we how can we make positive changes within the
elevate
business?
the strategy,
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that something you do a lot of?
I would like to do more of. We definitely offer that service if anyone's listening.
So right now,
But also, we don't speak on behalf of everyone, and I don't claim to. I think if you're going to take advice from us on working with Black creators, you should be taking advice from how to work on the same level with the LGBTQ community, with disabled creators. So, we don't speak for everyone, and you should be making sure to work and hear the voices of everybody who's in a marginalised community.
I couldn't have said it better. That's beautiful. We have some quickfire questions.
Yeah,
These
go
are
for
actually
it.
just a bit of fun, just to wind down the
The serious chat.
Got some quickfire questions that I
Yeah.
want to throw your way, and we'll do this in every single episode. There is no right or wrong answer, but know that I will judge you if you say the wrong one forever.
Sweating.
Yeah, be nervous, be terrified. So I'll go through these. You can have your opinion. You can chat for each one. Or you can just refuse to answer.
Yeah.
If you so wish. Vlogs or reels?
Reels.
Snap or WhatsApp?
WhatsApp.
Do you snap?
No.
I'm not 14.
Look, I'm trying to get back into it.
Are you?
It's the snaps. Yeah, we've got a lot of conversations happening. So maybe we should all re-download.
I'll snap you if you snap me.
Okay, it's
Fine.
a deal.
Lo-fi content or high production?
High production, I'm a sucker.
You're a YouTube
Yeah.
fan. LinkedIn or Pinterest?
LinkedIn. Sorry, Pinterest. Only for home decoration.
I've started a board
Yeah.
and I don't know what.
And do you look at it?
No.
No, I do love Pinterest, but LinkedIn is my current thing.
Yeah, fine. Be Real or Threads?
Threads right now.
Are you actually using Threads?
Okay, I read other people's threads because it's in my feed now.
Oh, okay.
I can't help clicking. What it is I have a short attention span and I'm easily distracted.
Yeah, same.
And I love the meta team. Let it be heard.
Yeah, fine. Influencer or creator?
Creator.
Why?
Because I would say that creators have influence. I like to think of our roster, they're inherently creative people.
Producers.
With influence. Yeah.
Like that. Vinted or Depop?
Vinted, I've just sold
Have
5
you?
things in a week. Yeah.
Look at you go.
This is the first for me.
Are they all PR gifted things?
No, never. we're moving and I did a clear out and I thought everybody's talking about Vinted. I made like 250 quid.
Nice. You did a Marie Kondo.
I did exactly that.
Reels or TikTok?
Reels. I'm old school still.
Are you? Okay.
I'm still getting into TikTok in a personal level. Obviously for work, I'm on it, but I've not yet been sucked into the point of wow, I've been on TikTok for 4 hours.
I've got a mate that sends me reels that are actually TikToks that I saw 6 months ago. Gifting or paid opportunities?
Paid opportunities.
Amen. Favourite trend?
Ooh. Most recently, I'm Of course I
know exactly what you're talking about. All you had to do was
I'm from Bradford. Of course I love going out for a curry. That kind of, we're curry capital of England for 5 years running.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
I need to visit. Which influencer are we all sleeping on?
Pele Newell, second shout out. Follow him now.
If you haven't already, now's your chance. Podcasts or YouTube videos?
Podcasts. With a YouTube video that I can watch if I want to.
Live shopping?
Live shopping? Is that an option or is there another?
No, that's it. Just how do you feel? Live shopping, yes or no?
Not
like
for
TikTok
me
Live?
yet.
Well, that was it. That was the podcast. You made it through the quickfire round. I'm pleased to let you know that you scored at least one.
Oh my gosh, only one.
I'm joking. I didn't tally. I had no idea. We weren't scoring that. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like there's so much work to be done in terms of D&I within influence marketing, specifically opportunities for Black creators. So if people want to find out more about Season 25, they can head to your website, which is season25.com.
Yeah.
And also check you out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, check me out on LinkedIn or drop me an email if you want to. It's jessica@season25.com. Follow us on Instagram, season25. And yeah, I've had a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. Everything will be linked wherever you found this. Probably difficult on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but on YouTube, etc., there'll be links to Season 25 and all the amazing work they're doing. And make sure you check out their brilliant talent. And hopefully you can come back again at some point.
I would love to. Thank you for
join us
having
for
me.
another quick fire round.
A better one. I was under pressure.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.
Perfect. Thank you so much for listening to the What They Said podcast. For this episode, we were joined by the wonderful Jess. But make sure you please review this podcast wherever you listen to it, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you can stay up to date with future episodes. And we look forward to seeing you next time, where we'll chat more rubbish about the influencer marketing economy in the UK. We'll do some quick fire questions and also learn some more influencer icks from the PrettyGreen office. See you next time.